The Dow is down 252, S&P 500 down 22, and the NASDAQ down 90. From Creative Planning, I'm Tom Krieger.
Homes and vehicles are destroyed, and countless lives have been changed after floodwaters took over parts of our area.
It started flooding like the Titanic. There's no stopping it.
From Milwaukee to Washington County, people, they are dealing with waterlogged homes, waterlogged cars, and power outages as well.
All the neighbors have been very gracious to everyone who's been talking and willing to help, and so it's good to see that part.
Near record rainfall leading to massive and devastating flooding across southeastern Wisconsin. Welcome to another busy broadcast week here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, as we will cover the devastation from every angle and provide you updates on the cleanup and recovery efforts. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries and no deaths reported as a result of these floods, but it was quite literally a 1,000-year event. That doesn't mean that it happens once every 1,000 years, but rather the chances of it happening in any given year are about 1 in 1,000. If you would like to join the Dan O'Donnell Show at any point into today's foray into broadcast excellence, or at the very least, let's face it, broadcast competence is far more likely, the AdventNews.com talk and text line is open, 414-799-1130, or toll free. You can reach us at 1-800-838-9476. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com. We are up on social media and streaming at every platform: Facebook, X, Instagram, all at Dan O'Donnell Show. We've got our YouTube channel running. Tune into the live stream via our Dan Cam, and be sure to subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Coming up at 5 o'clock, of course, your next chance to win $1,000 in our iHeartRadio Music Festival Fly Away contest, $1,000 and a trip for two to Las Vegas for the festival, September 19th and 20th on the line. So be sure to stay tuned for that. President Trump makes left-wing heads explode by announcing plans to essentially federalize the Washington, D.C. police force amid a spike in crime that the media is trying to convince the rest of America isn't actually happening. Meanwhile, Washington, D.C., as we outlined last week, is in the middle of a crime stat fabrication scandal in which a higher up in their Metropolitan Police Department has actually been suspended pending the results of an investigation into whether he was reporting false crime numbers in an effort to make it look as though D.C. is safer than it is. Also, the left continues to push gerrymandering to fight what it calls gerrymandering on the right. We'll get into that. Plus, why exactly is the Democrat Party skewing so unbelievably old? I have never, in all my years covering politics, and next year it's going to be 25 years that I have been in the broadcast business, that I have been in the news business, I never thought I would see a point at which the Democrats were the party of old people. But of course, the biggest story here in Wisconsin is, and probably will be for the entire week, the incredible flooding and the latest updates that we are seeing here. The Red Cross just gave an update on shelters in our area. She said that there will be a Holler Park shelter that continues to be open. It hosted 31 people Sunday night. It can accommodate up to 40. The Washington Park shelter housed 8 people. She said at a press conference that just wrapped up about 45 minutes ago, maybe a half hour ago. She doesn't know the capacity of that one. You are strongly encouraged to go to your local community's social media or official website for debris cleanup, what the policy is on using the city's dump. I know a lot of people had a lot of water in their basement. I personally was very fortunate. We escaped with just minimal damage damage. We live in an area that apparently has just very, very good drainage because there was a lake in the area behind our neighborhood, but it all drained away from the houses. So we escaped with just a minor mudslide. We have part of our lawn that isn't quite in yet, and some of the mud ran off onto our back patio as well as some of the beds. But compared to some of the damage that I saw firsthand while driving around southeast Wisconsin yesterday and hearing about basements flooded with 10, 11 feet of water, the Root River jumping its banks. There was a rescue off of that river in Franklin. There are a number of flood warnings and advisories that do remain in effect until this evening. We are possibly going to see a little bit more rain, but thankfully it's going to be drying out the remainder of the week, so those flood waters will recede. The Fox River in Waukesha is expected to crest at about 8.8 feet, and it is very dangerous. Of course, the usual warnings do apply. Do not get anywhere near floodwaters. I know there's a temptation to take off your shoes and socks and wade in them. Do not do that because most of the waters are filled with sewage and they can spread bacteria. It was downright scary on Saturday night. I was driving just a couple of blocks home from a little get-together at a friend's house, and we went home at about 11:30, 11:45. My wife and I both took separate cars, and I left during a break in the rain. The lightning, which apparently peaked at about 1,100 lightning strikes per hour in our area at about 11:30 to 12:30 Sunday morning. It was almost impossible to see even 5 feet in front of my car. I considered pulling over underneath a bridge, but then thought better of it as I saw the culverts on either side of the streets rapidly filling up with water. I thought every one of these small side streets that I'm using to get out of this neighborhood is going to flood very, very quickly. Unfortunately, a lot of people were caught in the flooding at State Fair. By now, I'm sure everybody has seen the dramatic pictures and videos. American Family Field, the freeways and low-lying roadways around that were completely flooded. Cars were stuck. I myself saw a number of cars stuck in Whitnall Park in floodwaters that appeared to hit about 5 to 6 feet in some spots. My mother's the house I grew up in, very nearby to a river. We don't know about that house, but the house next door, 7 feet of water in the basement, said one of our old neighbors. People are dealing with a heck of a lot. And I think it is incumbent upon me to set the record straight about what caused all of this. Because it wasn't, as State Senator Chris Larson and the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel have already claimed, climate change. Larson waited all the way until 11:29 yesterday morning to tweet, "The climate crisis is here." This time, it's our community posting the wild videos on social media of flash floods. It's our neighbors lined up outside Home Depot to try and salvage their homes. It's our lives hanging in the balance. Not to be outdone, Caitlin Luby, the Great Lakes reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, wrote, "Did climate change cause this flood?" It's difficult to attribute individual events to climate change. However, since 1950, Wisconsin has become, on average, 17% wetter, or roughly 5 inches, according to the latest Wisconsin Initiative on Climate Change Impacts report. The southern 2/3 of Wisconsin has experienced the biggest increase in rainfall. Climate change is fueling more extreme rainstorms as warmer air can hold more moisture that eventually comes down as rain. As extreme rainfall intensifies, experts warn that current flood control systems are already strained and won't be able to protect communities in the future. Well, that shouldn't impact Milwaukee because we're fortunate to have the deep tunnel system. Pause for laughter. We'll have more on that coming up in a little bit here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. This is beyond ascientific. The single biggest rainfall events in the history of the city of Milwaukee occurred in 1986, 2025 over the weekend, 2010, 1917, 2008, 2020, 2022, 1940, 2000, and 1941. The biggest single rainfall event in the city of Milwaukee was August 6th through the 7th of 1986, where 7.6 inches of rain fell at the airport, which is the official demarcation point where the official rainfall total hits. Of course, on Saturday night into Sunday morning, there were areas of southeast Wisconsin that got well over a foot of rain. And in fact, parts of Milwaukee were getting 8-9 inches. But 6.29 inches of rain was the official total from Mitchell International Airport. That is the second biggest single event 24-hour rainfall of all time. Number 1, 1986. Number 4, 1917. This in and of itself disproves the idea that these massive rainfall events in Milwaukee are caused by climate change, because if it was any sort of long-term climate-related change, we would see this reflected in much bigger, more intense single events than we are. We would see a clear pattern of the biggest events all being most recent. If you put this on a scatter plot, there's no clear delineation. There's no line of an increase in intensity. But a far better way to look at this than a single event, because this can be a freak occurrence as it was over the weekend. And I'll explain exactly what caused this coming up in just a second. It's far better to look at the single rainiest months of all time. We're not quite in 2025 there yet, but we will be. As of right now, the single rainiest month of all time was June of 2008, where there was a much more widespread event that hit the Wisconsin Dells particularly hard. You might remember that Lake Delton was completely dried out. There was a flood that cut through, and the lake, which is a man-made lake, cut through and emptied out. The house was dragged away. This was a massive national story. That was 17 years ago. Second biggest rain in July of 2010. Third biggest month of rain, June of 1917. Fourth, June of 1997. Fifth, September of 1941. Sixth most rain, May of 1933. 7th, September of 1961. 8th, August of 1987. 9th, August of 1986. And the 10th most rainfall Milwaukee has ever gotten in a single month was in September of 1872. Not one of the single rainiest months in Milwaukee's history has come in the past 15 years. Obviously, when the rainfall total is made official at the end of this month, this will probably be the rainiest month in the history of Milwaukee. It's certainly going to be number 1 or number 2, depending on how much more rain we get, because it's only August 11th. Not one, though, was in the past 15 years. And in fact, only 2 of the 10 rainiest months in the history of Milwaukee have occurred this century. What does that tell you? Well, if you're thinking rationally, it should tell you that there is no climate connection to what we saw over the weekend. And while liberals have already, like Senator Chris Larson and like the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, they are already starting to put this narrative out there. They're doing a tremendous disservice to people who are wondering, what is the actual reason that we got so much rain? Climate change had nothing to do with it. What actually happened is that a cold front that was moving through and was always going to produce a decent amount of rain. This was always going to be a storm front that was going to produce heavy rain. Well, it weakened, but then stalled over the entire Mississippi Valley region. That includes Milwaukee. And what happens when that front stalls is that the storms that the front produces form, then sort of weaken, then form again, because the front is moving so slowly that you just get rain continuously falling. Meteorologists call this phenomenon training. So what happened at the same time, if you want to blame Canada, just like we have been for the wildfire smoke, there was a low-level air jet stream that was pushing in from the north, from Canada. Now, because the temperature here was so high, I believe it got to about 92, 93 degrees in the Milwaukee area on Saturday, it didn't cool all that much. It was still in the 80s late Saturday night when the storms formed. Because that temperature was so high and there was so much moisture in the air, Milwaukee was hit with these training storms because the air was warm. There was this moist air coming in from Canada. It's unfortunate that the first time Canada blew anything other than thick smoke our way, it happened to be warm, moist air that was contributing to stalling this front and increasing the duration of these storms. All of these are short-term weather effects. They have nothing to do with climate. Climate refers to long-term 30, 40-year periods of time. Anyone trying to tell you that this has something to do with climate change either has no idea what they're talking about or they're deliberately lying to you. Unfortunately, what happened was an act of nature, or if you will, act of God. Occasionally, these massive rain events happen. They did in 1986, they did in 2008, and they did again in 2025. But the reality is, our records only date back to the late 1860s or early 1870s. And in terms of geologic time, that's not even a quarter of a blink of an eye. That's not even a millionth of a blink of an eye. This earth has been flooding. This earth has produced massive rainstorms forever. And one of the biggest reasons that there is so much damage from flooding is that human beings now, much more than they ever did before, are building homes and building businesses in floodplains, in low-lying areas that, because of urban and suburban sprawl, were never built up before. It's the same reason that we're seeing so much more in coastal areas damage from hurricanes. It's not because the hurricanes are suddenly getting stronger because of climate change. It's that human beings are now putting themselves and their property in danger. That's not to say that someone did something wrong by buying a home in Wauwatosa, which was particularly hard hit, or West Allis near State Fair Park. For the first time, I think, at least that I can remember, State Fair actually had to close a day early. That produced some of the most dramatic, scary video that I saw. People wandering, waddling, wading waist deep into the waters to try to get to their cars. Incredibly dangerous on Saturday night, where the fair was actually closed early because of the storms. But it is to say that 150 years ago, people, A, didn't have the structures that we do today, so it was impossible to calculate the damage, and B, we just didn't have the records. Unfortunately, what happens Saturday night does occasionally happen. And what is sometimes difficult to fathom is coming to grips with the reality that it's impossible to stop it. There's nothing that we can do. The forces of weather, the forces of nature, the forces of, if you will, God Almighty, are simply too powerful for human beings to cope with. No matter how much we think we can protect ourselves, sometimes Mother Nature wins. And it's very easy for us, and it's easy for people who try to get to some sort of sin that we must have committed. We're driving SUVs, that we're not using enough solar power in our homes, and we must be responsible for this. That's not the case. Sometimes bad things just happen, and it's up to us to pick up the pieces. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It's conservative thought, not just talk.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
Streaming live only on Hulu. A weekend full of superstar performances. And keep listening for the next chance to win your way there.
Lenovo and the iHeartRadio Music Festival. Tech that hits different. Can your gear keep up with the beat? Lenovo PCs are built for creators, dreamers, and fans who don't hit pause. Visit Lenovo.com for the latest in AI PCs and game-changing tech.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
It's one of the hottest topics when it comes to finance and your money. The One Big Beautiful Bill. If you haven't read it, we don't blame you. It's 900 pages with 400 just for tax provisions. Not exactly light reading. You know who has read it? Annex Wealth Management. That's where Instant Insight webinars come in. They're designed to provide clarity for today's hot topics. Get up to speed fast. Check out the full Instant Insight schedule at annexwealth.com/events. Unbiased advice from a fee-only fiduciary. Find out more at annexwealth.com.
If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Their physicians specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center. See orthowisconsin.com.
If you are waiting for a sign to finally create your will, this is it. Give your family peace of mind. Contact griefcivillaw.com today because tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Blue Mountain Express.
This is Rick Vanderboom with Blue Mountain Express Moving and Storage, and we'll improve your move.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Blue Mountain Express Moving and Storage, statewide.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
If your local meteorologist does not use the word training to describe what happened on Saturday night, but instead has a climate change solution or explanation to the massive rainstorms that led to widespread devastating flooding, just assume that they're pushing a false narrative. Training refers to when a massive rainstorm system basically stalls because of a weakening cold front over a particular region, which allows for thunderstorms or massive soaking rain events to form and then reform. It's a natural phenomenon. It has nothing to do with climate change. It was just a stalling cold front that allowed an already powerful system, because of warm, moist air that was blown in from where else to our north, Canada, that sucked up all of the energy and allowed these storms to form and reform and reform and reform again. This was why you had this just intense soaking rain for hours and hours and hours and hours. It had nothing to do with climate change. It had nothing to do, and I've heard this conspiracy theory too, that it was somehow Bill Gates seeding clouds. Cloud seeding is real, and it's been done for a long time. It is not physically possible to cause what happened on Saturday night into Sunday morning through artificial means. Again, we are occasionally, as human beings, powerless in the face of nature. And the best that we can do is to pump out our basements, help out our neighbors, and do whatever we can to take the sting out of devastating loss of property. And one of the worst parts about this, I saw this from a personal friend who said, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who's throwing out childhood memories today. I didn't even think about that. Where's the place you store your daughter's baby blanket? Where's the place you store old high school football trophies? Where's the place you store photo albums? Oftentimes, it's in the basement. And oftentimes when there are incidents like this, it's memories. And those are the most valuable things. Let's face it, as much as it stinks to lose a big screen TV down in your basement rec room, that can be replaced. The wedding album from your grandparents, great-grandma's wedding dress that's been passed down for generations, those can't be replaced. So obviously my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone. The thing I am most thankful for is that there was no loss of life, no serious injuries, that most of the things that were lost are just that. They are just things. There are still some flood issues. Milwaukee River near Cedarburg is still flooded. That affects Ozaukee County. Cedar Creek, also in Cedarburg, that is at a minor flood stage. The Menominee River in Menominee Falls, also at minor flood stage. Root River in Franklin, that's down to around 9 feet after it crested at nearly 12 feet, 4:30 this afternoon. We're still waiting for the Fox River in Waukesha to crest. That's going to happen sometime at about 7 o'clock tonight until sometime tomorrow morning. It's expected to hit 8.8 to possibly 9 feet, and some of the video that's coming out of just how raging the river is, it's scary. We still don't have, at least I have not seen, statistics posted as to just how much sewage was dumped into Milwaukee's lake and riverways. I did see a picture that's going somewhat viral, that the Lake Michigan, where you have blue water and also brown water closer to shore. That dichotomy is always striking. I think I've told the story before. My father used to be an avid sailor in Lake Michigan, and he said you could see after storms the brown water just approaching. I said, "Oh, Dad, I don't really want to think about that." The deep tunnel is, of course, going to overflow, and of course, people are going to say, "Well, this is what it's supposed to do." Quick pop quiz. Do you know how much the deep tunnel system cost? The construction lasted about 9 years. It was a massive construction project. It was one of the biggest in American history, surpassed only in length and cost by the Big Dig in Boston, which seemed to last about an entire century. This lasted nearly a decade, 84 to 1993, when we thought the deep tunnel system was going to be finished. It cost, start to finish, $2.3 billion. That today would be about $5.35 billion for a tunnel system. So you could imagine why people like me, and of course, MMSD, the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District, has been waging this PR campaign for decades. They actually got the local television stations in Milwaukee and the Journal Sentinel and public radio and everybody to stop reporting on sewage overflows because they said, well, the deep tunnel is doing what it's supposed to do. It's only in these massive rain events does the system get swamped and we have to dump sewage. Well, no. We were told when this project was first proposed in the late 1970s and it was being debated in the late 70s, early 80s, that this was going to stop the sewage overflows. Remember, we were sued by, was it Chicago or Illinois or both, over the dumping into Lake Michigan. We were told, well, all this is going to end. All you have to do is invest billions and billions and billions of taxpayer dollars and all of the sewage overflows will end. Well, the capacity was just too small. It's about 520 million gallons. And there are years, 2018 was a big one. 1.3 billion gallons of sewage was released into waterways. 1999 was another big one. 1.3 billion gallons of sewage just dumped into the waterways. While MMSD is correct that the deep tunnel does capture and treat about 98% of stormwater and wastewater, and it has since 1994, the promise was that there would be no more dumping. And those of us of a certain age will remember all of the promises that if we just invest this is why it is considered to be a massive boondoggle, because of the sheer amount of money that went quite literally down the drain into the deep tunnel system. Now, what you're not going to hear about, most likely, is the exact number of gallons of sewage that is dumped. And this is a specific narrative that is attempted to be fostered. That, well, we can't every time there's a 1,000-year flood expect the deep tunnel to be able to keep up. And that is true. There's no way to prevent sewage overflows. You will always have. I just got done saying in the opening monologue that we are all in some way at the mercy of Mother Nature, at the mercy of God. And sometimes we just get flooded. It happens. I understand that. But when you spend the equivalent of $5.4 billion, you probably should have a little bit bigger of a sewage capacity. You are listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk. Back with more in just a second.
An auction to sell your house, and it includes a 2.99% full service MLS listing. Come on. Put simply, the absolute best way to sell your home is a Redefined Realty MLS listing enhanced by the EasyHomeBidder.com auction bidding platform. You get max profits and minimal contingencies. Buyers and sellers both love winning at auction. Traditional real estate agents put houses on MLS, then talk sellers into accepting offers. It's always been done that way. While buyers can still make a traditional offer, auctions powered by EasyHomeBidder.com allow every interested party to compete for your home through MLS and at auction on your terms. Sellers never lose a penny again. Dorothy's Ruby Slippers would not have sold for $28 million without an auction. Similarly, the maximum price of your home will only be achieved at auction. Traditional real estate agents sell ordinary MLS services. Redefines mentors of winning, enhance the home selling process combining auction and MLS. RedefinedRealty.com. Buyers win, sellers win. Real estate's future is now. Real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
You understand the premise?
Yes, the premise is a promise.
And the promise is for our big bank
to be like First American Bank.
No. We promise to try and be like First American Bank.
What?
It's impossible for us to be like First American Bank. They have the best loan deals in town.
Really?
Really. And First American Bank gives you a First American Bank loan specialist who works with you every step of the way.
No.
Yes.
So no shuffling them around from department to department, person to person?
Just a First American Bank specialist specialist to make the loan process quick, easy, and smooth.
So First American Bank can do everything a big bank like us can do and more.
Yeah, makes me nauseous too.
Ooh, better idea. We just promised to be more like First American Bank. I mean, is more, or is less than more still more?
Oh.
We'll fool everyone.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you.
First American Bank, the bank that does more for your money. Visit firstambank.com or call us at 262-577-2400. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Seed oils, the number one source of American calories, are combustion engine fuel and industrial lubricants. Seed oils cause arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and chronic illness. It's not theory. Well-activity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com.
There are only a handful of carpet cleaning companies in the country who guarantee results, and we're one of them. It's no wonder why we're Wisconsin's most trusted carpet cleaner.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
When it's 94 degrees inside and you've melted to the couch,
and a dog has claimed the fridge,
and the ice cubes have melted themselves out of misery,
and you've started naming your sweat beads,
then it's officially time to call Capital. We offer same-day air conditioning service 7 days a week.
And for a limited time, all our AC service calls are free when we make the repair.
Just call Capital. We'll bring back the brrr.
Fashion service, you can't go wrong. Call CapitalCares.com.
Divorce is challenging, but getting a favorable outcome shouldn't be. I'm attorney Tom Grieve with Divergent Family Law. At Divergent Family Law, our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. We believe everyone deserves guidance through life's toughest transitions. During our free consultation, we'll give you a clear breakdown of the process and a flat rate quote for representation. Our attorneys will give you an honest assessment of your options based on Wisconsin law and your local judges. They'll help you make informed, confident decisions. You deserve to feel secure, not shortchanged. You may feel pressured to play nice with your spouse, or you may feel like you have no choice but to dig your heels in to fight on every topic. But being fair doesn't mean giving up your fair share. At Divergent Family Law, we're here to protect your future and prioritize what's truly important to you. You can be fair and still get your fair share, or better. Reach out now for a free divorce consultation. Go to divergentfamilylaw.com. That's divergentfamilylaw.com.
August already? Not to worry, there's still plenty of summertime left, and the folks at the Sawmill Restaurant and Pub in Richfield are ready to serve you the very finest in home-style cooking. Take the Holy Hill exit from Highway 41, turn west, then take a right on Wolf Road. The Sawmill is just around the bend on your left.
Hi, it's Jay. Let's talk about the roof on your home. A lot of you will need to replace your summer, but there are roofing companies out there that skip. If your attic doesn't have proper air circulation, it can cause problems like mold and wood rot, leaks in the winter, not to mention higher AC bills in the summer. This is one of the reasons I recommend Semperfi Roofing to my listeners. Their process begins with a free 21-point roof inspection that includes a thorough inspection of your attic. They know that if the ventilation isn't right, the roof will be built on a shaky foundation. Every Semperfi roof comes with a well-thought-out attic ventilation plan, and that's why they can offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. Money-saving discounts and financing incentives are available. Call for your free 21-point roof inspection and estimate today, 262-600-2910, or book an appointment online at semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
In 1920, a magazine article announced something incredible. 2 young girls had photographed real fairies. That article was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the man who invented Sherlock Holmes. How did he fall for that? Hoax is a new podcast from me, Dana Schwartz, the host of Noble Blood.
And me, Lizzie Logan. Every episode, we'll explore one of the most audacious and ambitious tricks in history.
Open your free iHeartRadio app, search Hoax, and listen now.
Injured? Call Gruber Law. One call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. The National Weather Service in Milwaukee says there are 4 locations that received more than a foot of rain over the weekend. A number of other areas received between 5 and 11 inches of rain from 7 a.m. Saturday morning through 8 a.m. this morning. The rain totals are just astronomical. 3 miles northeast of Butler, National Weather Service says 12.08 inches in Milwaukee County. 4 miles northwest of downtown Milwaukee, 11.71 inches. Bayside got 10. Downtown Milwaukee, 9.3 inches of rain. Highest in Waukesha County was 3 miles east of Pewaukee at 12.61. Now, part of Butler that stretches into Waukesha County, that got 12.22 inches. Menominee Falls saw 12.05 inches of rain. Brookfield, 11.26 inches. Highest total in Ozaukee County was Port Washington at 9.91. About a mile and a half south of Germantown in Washington County, 10.58 inches. This was a massive, unprecedented storm system. Number of callers and actually a couple of texts reminded me that when you're talking about the cost of the Deep Tunnel project, which I estimated at about $5.35 billion in 2025 dollars adjusted for inflation, you have to include the decrease of the water table. Do you remember that when Boston Store actually sued MMSD and an appeals court, First District Court of Appeals, which took up the case, ruled that the tunnel's dewatering did constitute a taking under Wisconsin law because of the damage that the deep tunnel's construction that subsequently lowered the water table. I don't want to get into Milwaukee is basically built on a marshland. I think everybody remembers that, right? You remember your local history, assuming they still teach local history. Usually it's in 4th grade where you do the extensive, and I mean extensive unit on Native Americans. The thing that really stuck with me was the building of Milwaukee. Well, fortunately, we have a great Milwaukee Public Museum that has the streets of old Milwaukee where you learn all about. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's going away. So we can have a woke monstrosity that's going to feature nothing but iPad screens for kids to learn on. Don't get me started about the new museum. They even changed the name. It's going to be the Wisconsin History of, the Wisconsin Natural History something. Look, I didn't even bother to learn the name. That's how upset I am about this. You want to talk about boondoggles? How about the idea that we're going to build a new museum for $100 million, but somehow it's going to cost way more to just redo the existing museum, which is much bigger. All right. Yeah. The downtown and 3rd Ward were all built on marshland, and a lot of the older buildings are supported by, like anything that's built on water, just giant wooden pilings dug into the foundation, just dug into the ground. And they rely on being submerged in water at all times to prevent them from decaying. If the water table goes down, if the water levels below the buildings goes down, well, what happens to wood? It decays. When that happened, everything started to sink. City Hall was an example. Oh, no, it could not possibly have been the deep tunnel. Well, it seems like it might have been. Another thing people keep asking me, well, why didn't we just separate the wastewater from the rainwater? Well, that we were told was going to be way too expensive. And by the way, we already have the deep tunnel, and that's working just fine. By the way, I am feverishly refreshing the MMSD website because I guarantee the only place you're probably going to hear about how many million gallons of poop were dumped into the water. And look, I understand. In 1993, the last year we didn't have the deep tunnels, we were dumping way more. We got sued by Chicago. We got sued by the state of Illinois over this as a city. That's how bad it was. It helped, just not enough. They didn't account for just how bad rainy seasons would get. Essentially, it was an overpromise, underdeliver. We will check in with Brian Jacobson, chief economist at Annex, ahead of tomorrow's Consumer Price Index report.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. The Dan O'Donnell Show is coming right back.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Still very heavy southbound on 4145 from Good Hope down to Capitol. Northbound delays now starting down at Blue Mound and continuing all the way back up to Hampton. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected when it matters most. Be prepared with Rapid Radios walkie-talkies. With instant push-to-talk and LTE nationwide coverage, you can reach family and friends in any emergency. 100% private, no contracts, no hassle.
Stay safe. Order now at rapidradios.com.
I'm Dan Voss from Cut and Go. Ugly and depressing and trees killed off by emerald ash, oak wilt, and Dutch elm disease are dangerous for friends and loved ones, even a potential liability. Slowly rotting, left-standing hardwood trees can weigh tens of thousands of pounds. Even seemingly smaller branches can weigh tens, even hundreds of pounds. With Cut and Go, there is no reason to risk injury or property damage. Live trees in precarious placement for an arborist to remove over homes, garages, commercial buildings, luxury landscapes are easily and safely laid on the ground by Cut and Go's NCCER crane-operated certified remote control automobile mounted articulating crane grapple saw operators. You can save big money and stock up on firewood by having Cut and Go put your trees on the ground for you to clean up or have a bonfire or split firewood, or we can take it all with us when we leave. A Tons of Trees movement. Cut and Go trees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Once again, that's cutandgotrees.com.
Live radio, trusted DJs, breaking news, live play-by-play, endless music, and podcasts just for you. It's the free iHeartRadio app. Radio your way. Join the millions who already have it. Download the free iHeartRadio app, the #1 app for radio.
Bob built a brand over the same 20 years iNet has. I bought multiple properties over those years. Bob gets real estate like I never will.
In real estate, every brokerage does the same thing. MLS. Adding auction bidding to MLS, I knew if iNet branded it, told our story, home sellers would understand and accept this real estate revolutionizing platform.
You can be the best in your industry like Redefined Realty is. Even revolutionize your industry like Redefined Realty has with auction. Yet, it's your story that sells.
You can't tell your story as well as iNet Creative Genius will tell your story.
Real estate for winners is exactly what Redefined Realty and auction has always been.
Steven knocked our brand and marketing out of the park.
Selling a home? If you don't use Redefine's MLS and auction platform, you'll leave closing with less money than you would have. Tragic and that simple.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. iNet is improving marketing for winners.
iNetJustWork.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
When Flawless Flooring installs luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, modern laminate, or carpeting, I personally guarantee your satisfaction with every step from shopping through installation. I'm Flawless Flooring's president, Dave Brownsdorf, and I approve this message. Sensory underload, Flawless Flooring, FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
I'm defense attorney Tom Grieve. Charged with an OWI, it's not just a ticket. It's on your record permanently and can affect your career or your ability to travel. One mistake shouldn't ruin your life. Contact Grieve Law for your OWI defense. GrieveLaw.com.
This time of year can be tough on a number of areas in your home. This is Dan O'Donnell, and if you're struggling with any electrical issues, I recommend the superheroes at Current Electric. Chuck Smith, a Brookfield Central grad, started Current Electric over 40 years ago. His mission was to serve our community with integrity and quality, and has done that at Current Electric. If you need something as small as an outlet or switch repair or a whole home rewiring, call on the superheroes from Current Electric. Go to callcurrent.com.
Are you tired of being tired? Go to adventknows.com. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow famously said, "Into each person's life, some rain must fall." At Ryan Waterproofing, we tend to agree, as long as it's not in your basement. Free estimates, because praying for drought is overrated. Ryan Waterproofing. Call Ryan.com. That's call, RION.com.
2 seconds. That's all it takes for a child to wander. 2 inches of water, and they could drown. For autistic individuals of all ages, and those with Alzheimer's or dementia, the risk is even greater. Autism Society of America's It Takes Two campaign educates families and caregivers to reduce wandering-related drowning tragedies. Access free resources to help save a life. Visit autismsociety.org/ittakes2 to prepare, prevent, and protect.
There used to be a day when the national news media prided itself on getting the story right. Those days are gone. Now, it's slanted stories, unnamed sources, and fake news. The goal no longer is to inform you. The goal is to indoctrinate you. Here at News Talk 1130 WISN, our show hosts will give you straightforward information and honest analysis. That is our commitment, and that is our daily mission. News Talk 1130 WISN. Real life, real news, real good.
Tour de force of truth. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. We now welcome Chief Economist Brian Jacobson of Annex Wealth Management to help you know the difference. He is filling in for the Chief Executive Officer, CEO Dave Spano this week. And this week, Brian, it is a big one because the Consumer Price Index reading, especially with all the uncertainty surrounding President Trump's tariffs and just how much various countries are going to pay, this is going to be one of the most closely watched numbers in recent memory.
It really will be. It'll actually probably help determine whether or not the Federal Reserve, when they meet next, which is September 16th to the 17th, if they're actually going to cut rates or not. If this report comes in a little bit too hot, then it might actually say that maybe they should wait until October. And my expectation, though, is that we're likely going to see a continued slight increase in the pace of inflation for goods prices. If you think about the big things that are imported, like you have autos, you also have food, which is a good that we import. That's where we'll likely see some of the inflation. But that's only about 35% of the consumer basket. 65% is services, which is not nearly as tariff sensitive. And that's actually where we have been seeing what we call disinflation. So the high inflation that we saw under President Biden in terms of, 4 to 6% inflation for shelter costs, that's coming down to something a lot more moderate, something closer to about 3 to 3.5%. So we're going to see this tug of war between goods prices inflation and the service sector disinflation.
He is Brian Jacobson, the chief economist at Annex Wealth Management. To find out how all of this impacts your bottom line, and here's a hint, it is significant, you need to head to annexwealth.com. Thanks as always, Brian. We will be recording a brand new episode of The Difference. It's a podcast that sits right at the intersection of politics and economics after the CPI index report is released, to kind of better get a handle on what the Federal Reserve is likely to do. Or will this be another excuse for Jay Powell to say, well, inflation is still coming in hot, can't lower interest rates just yet. My guess, though, is that we do see a rate cut in September. We'll discuss tomorrow on the difference at iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're going to get to, because it's so darn funny, the unhinged liberal of the day right at the start of the next hour. Stay tuned. Unhinged Lib coming up next.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Benjamin Yount, weekday mornings 9 to 11 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Michaels. Several counties in the area, including the city of Milwaukee, are still soaked after heavy flooding from over the weekend.
Flooding in southeast Wisconsin turned some neighborhoods into lakes, with cars underwater, basements flooded, and home foundations washed away. In and around Milwaukee County, from a fast and record amount of rainfall, thousands are still without power. Wisconsin's governor sending in the National Guard to assist as the region braces for more rain this week. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Gerald Kruschke is the Commissioner of Public Works for the city of Milwaukee, and he said this morning it's still going to take days to figure out the extent of the damage the flooding caused.
I think right now that's what we're assessing. We have our sewer folks out there. We have our bridge maintenance folks out there, our street and repair. We're assessing today, so we really don't know. And as floodwaters continue to decrease, we'll find out more details.
And President Trump's tariff deadline for China ends tonight, which could result in new taxes on Chinese imports. At the White House today, the president discussed whether or not he would extend the deadline.
They have tremendous tariffs that they're paying to the United States of America, and we'll see what happens. They've been dealing quite nicely.
The 4 o'clock business report brought to you by the Good Feed store. The Dow down today 200 points. The NASDAQ fell 64 while the S&P lost 16. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard, Paramount has announced they're going to be the new home to UFC fighting events in the U.S. under a 7-year deal worth over $7.5 billion. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Partly to mostly cloudy this afternoon with a stray evening thunderstorm possible. Otherwise, scattered showers and storms return on Tuesday. Heavy rain will be possible at times, drying out the remainder of the week with temperatures in the 80s. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories.
This is Lee Habib, host of Our American Stories. In our next episode, we'll share the story of how Batman came to be and how he's changed over the years and how we've changed too. You won't want to miss the next episode of Our American Stories.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Family Dentistry, Cosmetic Whitening, Ross Dental Straight Smiles, and Full Sedation Dentistry for anxious patients needing substantial restoration. Our mission? Your comfort, health, and confidence.
Smile like you just don't care.
Because you don't. RossDentalWI.com.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve, here to tell you about Grieve Civil Law. There's a lot of things in life we put off for far too long. Going to the doctor or the gym or the dentist. We know we should do it, but there's always something else more urgent. Estate planning cannot be put off. Life is unexpected. Have you thought about what your family would go through if you died without a will? Probate is stressful, time-consuming, and costly. It can cause family disputes and resentment. Is that what you want your legacy to be? Don't procrastinate when it comes to your family's future. Protect them from chaos and confusion. Don't let your legacy be the mess you left them with. You probably hear a lot of ads that say, time is running out, don't wait. It's a marketing gimmick. We all know there will be another sale soon. When it comes to estate planning, time is literally running out. Plan today and have peace of mind tomorrow. Don't gamble with your life's work. Don't gamble with your family's future. GrieveCivilLaw.com, because time is running out.
Life can move fast, so when you want to sell your home, Grandview Homes will buy it on your schedule. We know your time is precious, and we won't waste it by giving you the runaround. Just a fair, guaranteed offer. Get your no-obligation offer at GrandviewHomes.com today.
Academic Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
Don't settle for a flimsy bank pre-approval. Get the pre-approval listing agents and sellers recognized as better than the rest. The rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet. Get yours by clicking on the blue button at ACCUNET.com.
Real feedback from Brookfield and Mequon's Reset Restore MD patient.
My daughter's intravenous ketamine treatments made a significant difference in just 2 weeks.
R&R for Relief, Reset Restore MD, rnrmd.com.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
News Talk 1130 WISN.
News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee.
Homes and vehicles are destroyed, and countless lives have been changed after floodwaters took over parts of our area.
It started flooding like the Titanic. There's no stopping it.
From Milwaukee to Washington County, people, they are dealing with waterlogged homes, waterlogged cars, and power outages as well.
All the neighbors have been very gracious to everyone who's been talking and willing to help, and so it's good to see that part.
That is actually the thing that was most heartening to see, the way that neighbors have been helping neighbors all across the affected region where we have seen just devastating flooding. Fortunately, no deaths, no serious injuries, but a whole lot of damaged basements, a whole lot of destroyed cars, which were stuck in the floodwaters. Just a devastating weekend. But as we established here on the Dan O'Donnell Show in the first hour, sometimes unprecedented storm events happen. Anyone trying to convince you that this is part of a global warming pattern is simply lying. The data does not support that. And we have all of the data that I used to do the opening monologue, which people have been asking me about, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. We are also on Instagram at Dan O'Donnell Show there. You want to join us in this second hour of the program? 414-799-1130 on the AdventNows.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 800-838-9476 as well. And I was thinking to myself, what is the thing that I can do on this silly little radio show to really help people out who are dealing with a big headache? And sometimes those people are dealing with the loss of precious memories, photo albums destroyed, maybe old tapes, VHS tapes, or even 8mm Super 8 footage from grandmas and grandpas. I mean, that stuff is irreplaceable, and it's devastating. I thought to myself, could we do a fundraising thing or something like that? It's way too complicated when you get the lawyers involved at the corporate level for how do we award the giveaways and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, maybe the best thing that we can do here is to just for a little bit take your mind off of all of the problems, all of the headaches, the flooding, the cleanup, all of that, and laugh at a truly insane liberal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time now to name the unhinged lib of the day.
Make me crazy.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
All white people are racist.
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is a podcaster and former star of Bravo TV by the name of Jennifer Welch. She has a podcast now called I've Had It, and she went on one of the most deliciously unhinged rants I have heard in quite some time, saying that people who triple trumped or voted for President Trump 3 times in 2016, 20, and 24 should not be allowed to go to Mexican restaurants or gay hairdressers.
I've had it with white people that triple trumped, that have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant, go to perhaps their gay hairdresser. I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. And if you want to triple Trump and you want to browbeat DEI and you want to browbeat gay people and you want to browbeat black people as you've been doing for 400 years, and you want to browbeat this generation of immigrants that come over here and open up businesses earnestly, pay their taxes, you want to demonize them and call them rapists and felons and all this shit, when the felon is the teeny weeny mushroom cock piece of shit Cankles McTaco tits at the top of the ticket. I have fucking had it from top to bottom. White people that triple Trump should be banned, boycotted from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. Get your fat asses out of the Mexican restaurant. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, because nobody wants to see your fucking smug ass, teeny weeny, pink arm, big gut around. Nobody wants to see that shit. No one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very strong contender for the unhinged liberal of the year right there. Jennifer Welch of the I've Had It podcast. Wow. Remember about a year ago when J.D. Vance caused a national uproar because he said there's a whole ton of childless cat ladies who will never, ever, ever vote for the Trump-Vance ticket? Yeah, that's who he was talking about. I said maybe, don't single out the childless women, because a lot of women, they struggle, a lot of couples struggle with fertility, but we all know who he was talking about. So I said, what would be better would be liberal wine aunt. That is the epitome of a liberal wine aunt. Jennifer Welch, your liberal wine aunt, possibly of the year.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Trump just keeps winning.
It is a win for the administration.
It's also a big win for the United States.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Time now for your daily Trump Day, your look at what happened at the White House today. Well, you might have been at work, of course. You probably heard about this: President Trump signing an executive order to essentially federalize Washington, D.C. amidst the spike in crime.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. And you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
At a press conference this morning announcing the action, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the National Guard is already deployed.
We'll mobilize the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week.
Now, The president referenced the Home Rule Act. That was a law passed in 1973 as a response to a longtime complaint of D.C. residents that they didn't have their own mayor. They didn't have their own common council. So Congress, which under the Constitution does have control of Washington, D.C., ceded a bit of that authority to the newly created position of mayor and common council. Now, under the Home Rule Act, the president is allowed, if he declares a state of emergency, which he did, he can assume temporary control of the Metropolitan Police Department for 48 hours unilaterally or up to 30 days if he notifies Congress, which he did.
Today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department. Okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. And you have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. But you have a lot of great police, and those people are the ones that want to help you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a good reminder that there is nothing more fun than a Donald Trump press conference. He was asked, among other things, about why he's doing this now. Why make this action? He actually answered very thoughtfully and said, look, this is a poor reflection of our country if our capital is chaotic like this.
It's a very, very strong reflection of our country. And when they see a bad city, you know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart. And he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in, because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our capital is dirty, our whole country is dirty.
I've been actually thinking about that quote all day long. When you walk up to somebody's house and the front yard is a mess, there's weeds all over, the kids' toys are laying everywhere, there's a garden hose just in the middle of the walkway, the landscaping. You judge the people inside that house, don't you? Something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your Daily Trump Date. As you could imagine, Democrats have been absolutely freaking out. And I mean freaking out over this announcement. They're saying that this is a step towards fascism, because everything Trump does is a step towards fascism, don't you know? Nothing, though, nothing, and I mean nothing, could top the protest this morning led by some woman who I am still laughing at like 8 hours later.
The president has been trying to provoke violence here, right here, in the black communities and in the brown communities, having ICE kidnap our neighbors, having the black community be harassed and profiled and want a response. We say, hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go.
Wait, what? Hey,
when we say we won't go, that means we're not going to those mass incarceration, into their prisons and enslavement. We won't go into their ICE, those what he call his beautiful centers that he got. We won't go to where alligators live. Hell no, we won't go.
And they start chanting again. I'm telling you, the entire protest was just hilarious to watch. That woman takes the cake. I have been searching all day for her name because, frankly, folks, I want to subscribe to her podcast. Just within the last couple of hours, DC's mayor, Muriel Bowser, weighed in saying that, yes, This is something that she wanted to, folks. She wanted to come out and say the president is not legally allowed to do this. This is unconstitutional. We are going to sue to retain control under the Home Rule Act. She couldn't find anything. I mean, the law is crystal clear. Constitution is equally clear. And in fact, the formation of Washington, D.C., the bargain that was struck between James Madison and Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, essentially trading Washington, D.C. as the nation's capital in exchange for Hamilton's central bank, dictated that Congress would always retain ultimate control over the nation's capital. And this was written into the Constitution because during the Constitutional Convention, there was a riot in which the soldiers who were not being paid after the Revolutionary War, and they were now being forced to work overtime protecting the delegates to the Constitutional Convention that had convened in Philadelphia. They rioted and, for all intents and purposes, took those delegates hostage. Well, the framers said, wait a second. We can't have any state or any city, because these were troops in Pennsylvania. We can't have anyone be loyal to a state and a city. Remember, they were very concerned with federalism. They were very concerned with states' rights. They believed that a state should have a whole lot of power compared to what we see the proper role and power of a state today. Well, if there's a militia or there's a local police force that's loyal to its state, loyal to its city, what happens to us? So they created an area, the District of Columbia, that was loyal to nobody while simultaneously being loyal to everybody in the United States. It was seen as apart from the rest of the country. That's the reason we have one independent district. And the idea behind the fact that there is no congressional representation for Washington, D.C. is, let's see, I have one congressman that represents my area. Washington, D.C. has all 435 of them. I have 2 United States senators that represent me from Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. The people of Washington, D.C. have all 100 of them. They are physically located whenever the Congress is in session in the city where those people live. They can easily lobby. They have much easier access to every single member of Congress, every single member of the federal government than I ever could, based solely on their geographic proximity to them. So that was always the trade-off. No, you don't get a congressman. You don't get a senator. You don't get statehood. You have everybody's congressmen and everybody's senators coming directly to you. But Bowser said this isn't enough, that we need statehood for Washington, D.C.
My message to residents is this. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship.
During this press conference, Bowser also said that crime is down 30% in Washington, D.C. And isn't this remarkable? Yeah, 30%. Do you know where they're getting this from? There was a massive crime wave in Washington in 2023, and then it declined by 30% to 2024. Just take a look at the number of homicides. There were 274 murders in Washington, D.C. in 2023. There were 187 last year. That's up from 166 in 2019, 160 in 2018, 116 in 2017. You see where I'm going with this. In fact, not only are they being disingenuous about the numbers, there is an honest-to-goodness scandal where a high-ranking official with the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department was put on leave while they investigate whether he was cooking the books and falsely reporting crime statistics to make it look as though Washington, D.C. is safer than it is. So Bowser is saying we need to be a state and we're safer. Do you realize right now, if Washington, D.C. was a state, it would have the single highest crime rate of any state in the entire country? Also, it is a well-known constitutional principle that you cannot make a new state by cutting up a part of another state. Guess what Washington, D.C. was made up of? Parts of Maryland and parts of Virginia. It constitutionally can never be a state because it would violate this principle that it would be cut up from others. And this is why you can't have Northern California and Southern California as two states. Puerto Rico could theoretically become another state because it's not carved out of other states. But back to the issue at hand. Is it appropriate to use federal troops in order to enforce the law? Bowser doesn't think so. A lot of liberals say it's sort of like, who else? Hitler to do so.
We don't, and I think I speak for all Americans, we don't believe it's legal to use the American military against American citizens on American soil. I'm not a lawyer, and but I think that's a fairly widely held fact.
Well, it's a good thing she's not a lawyer because she'd be a pretty terrible one. Home Rule Act says it is absolutely 100% allowable because Washington, D.C. is so different and it's governed by Congress, and Bowser is permitted to exist as a mayor by the Home Rule Act of 1973. It is absolutely permissible under the law for Trump to federalize the police department for 30 days with notification of Congress. In addition, with an act of Congress signed by the president, the Home Rule Act can either be amended or revoked entirely, which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea. The original intent of what the framers of the Constitution had for the nation's capital was a city, in effect, run by the federal government of the United States. Bowser should not exist. The D.C. City Council should not exist. The only reason that they do is because Congress allowed them to, because the federal government allowed the citizens of D.C. to have representation that they pretended that they don't have. Of course, D.C. has been run by Democrats forever. And in fact, Washington, D.C. just might be the single most Democrat-run and Democrat-dominated city in the United States. As a result, it has by far the highest violent crime rate of any capital city this side of Mexico City. As President Trump said today, when Bogota, Colombia, and Mexico City, Mexico are both statistically far safer than the capital city of America, it's time for a change, a legally allowable change that is not a step towards autocracy, but is rather a step towards sanity. We'll have more on this and more on how Democrats cause crime waves next.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford, Total Traffic Center.
Hefty delays southbound 4145 from Good Hope down to Capitol, on to 894 southbound delays from Beloit to the Hale Interchange, and then eastbound to past Forest Home. Westbound delays 35th to 60th. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by FabTech Expo.
Hey Milwaukee, FabTech hits Chicago September 8th through the 11th, the largest trade show for sheet metal forming and fabricating in North America. 1,700 exhibitors, live demos, and it's free. Register now at fabtechexpo.com.
This time of year can be tough on a number of areas in your home. This is Dan O'Donnell, and if you're struggling with any electrical issues, I recommend the superheroes at Current Electric. Chuck Smith, a Brookfield Central grad, started Current Electric over 40 years ago. His mission was to serve our community with integrity and quality, and has done that at Current Electric. If you need something as small as an outlet or switch repair or a whole home rewiring, call on the superheroes from Current Electric. Go to callcurrent.com.
Ah! Monstrous hairball, googly eyes. Looks like Clogzilla is back in your sink.
Not again. This always happens when I shave my back hair. Hello, Clogzilla.
Have no fear. There's a drain hero here. Just call the pros at Capital when things get hairy.
Need help defeating the beast beneath your sink? Call Capital for our best drain clearing offer ever. For only $49, we'll unclog your drain.
Fashion service, you can't go wrong. Call CapitalCares.com.
Imagine your home totally organized. At Closets by Design, we specialize in providing affordable, custom-built storage solutions with built-ins and beyond. From garages to new home offices. Our experienced designers work within your budget to design a solution fit perfectly to your needs. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% with 18-month financing. Visit closetsbydesign.com or call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to get started. Let's get organized together.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Smart speakers put WISN's programs as close as the sound of your voice. Tell Alexa, Google Home, or Siri on HomePod to play 1130 WISN on iHeartRadio. And listen to Milwaukee's best talk shows.
Piercing Intellect. Stay informed with Mark Levin. Weeknights 9 to midnight on WISN.
I just came to say hello.
The next generation is here.
Hello.
You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
I'm sorry, I cannot get enough of this D.C. protest leader.
The president has been trying to provoke violence here, right here, in the black communities and in the brown communities, having ICE kidnap our neighbors, having the black community be harassed and profiled and want a response. We say, hell no, we won't go.
Hell no, we won't go.
What does that even mean? Oh, don't worry, folks, it gets better.
When we say we won't go, that means we're not going into those mass incarceration, into their prisons and enslavement. We won't go into their ICE, what he call his beautiful centers that he got. We won't go to where alligators live. Hell no, we won't go.
What is? In case you thought that was an unhinged response to President Trump announcing a temporary federalization of Washington, D.C., how about this from the city's newspaper of record, the Washington Post, attempting to make the claim that, look, Trump doesn't need to do this because crime is down. This is a real question, or a real statement, I should say, a real quote from a real story that aired at the Washington Post's website today. And I quote, "This is a safe city, but overhearing and witnessing gang threats and then watching the camera footage of the thuggery is disturbing," said one resident, speaking on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety. They're trying to tell you that Washington, D.C. is safe. However, the guy that they got to say Washington, D.C. is safe had to stay anonymous because he's worried about getting beat up. Dana Bash over on CNN, of course, had to make the connection to January 6th.
I should note that the most violent
moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th. And it was an attack on the United States Capitol by a lot of people who were doing it in the name of Donald Trump. And it included the people who were hurt, included members of law enforcement.
Okay, there have been 14 people killed in Washington, D.C. in about the last 30 days. The only person who died on January 6th was a Trump supporter by the name of Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed in the worst police shooting of the entire year back then. But of course, the officer who killed her threw a door when he deemed her to be an immediate threat to his life. He was completely exonerated. That was the only violent death on January 6th. Please, someone fact check me on that. Nobody was killed. There was not a Capitol Police officer who died when he was hit with a fire extinguisher. That was a lie. That was debunked. There was one Capitol Police officer who did, in fact, suffer from a fatal brain hemorrhage, but his autopsy specifically listed his death to be from natural causes and not another person. By the way, Dana Bash is having herself a bang-up couple of days. This was the question that she asked Bernie Sanders during her Sunday morning political show yesterday. You ready for this level of fawning?
Something that I'm sure you have seen, a Gallup poll. Did you see this Gallup poll?
Yep.
And what the Gallup poll found was that you are one of the most widely admired Americans, and I believe you're only second to the Pope.
You want me to declare my candidacy for Pope?
I don't think that you're eligible for a lot of reasons.
Then I won't do that.
I watched you tonight. I've watched you for a very, very long time. You're obviously still full of vigor and intensity for the things that you're passionate about and have been for decades. Is there another presidential run in you?
You'll have to excuse me, folks. That sound you're hearing is me throwing up in my mouth a little bit. Do you know what this was? This was that episode of The Simpsons where Burns runs for governor and they stage an event at The Simpsons house. This was where he has to eat the three-eyed fish to prove that there's no nuclear radiation coming from his plant into Springfield's waters. And they make poor Lisa Simpson ask a question of him.
Lisa, do you have a question you would like to ask your Uncle Montgomery?
Yes, sir. A very inane one. Mr. Burns, your campaign seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. Why are you so popular?
Ooh, a tough question, but a fair one.
Let's see. Blonde asking a question of an impossibly old weirdo? Dana Bash has quite literally morphed into Lisa Simpson. Much more on the D.C. controversy and Democrat-run cities being crime-infested hellholes next.
Conservative thought, not just talk.
You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
20 minutes southbound on 4145 between Good Hope and the Zoo. Delays breaking after Capitol. Southbound on 43, 15 from Brown Deer to the Marquette. Slow to Silver Spring and again from Highland down to the Marquette. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Milwaukee County Zoo.
A la carte at the Zoo, presented by Meyer, is back August 14th to the 17th. Enjoy live music from Philip Phillips, Los Lonely Boys, and Low Cash, plus great food and wild sights. Get tickets at MilwaukeeZoo.org or save at Tri-City National Bank.
You, Las Vegas, and the best musical artists on the globe. Sounds delightfully combustible, right? Win a trip for two to the iHeartRadio Music Festival presented by Capital One. 3 times each weekday. Text in a keyword and you might be a winner in the nationwide iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest. Also in the prize package, $1,000.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest is sponsored locally by the friendly experts at Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac. With 1,300 vehicles in one place, it's worth the trip. HolidayAutomotive.com.
Whether you're on a commercial job site or tackling residential projects, support yourself and your crew with the AFS Advantage.
AFS Advanced Fastening Supply is locally owned with a complete inventory of all the major brands of tools, fasteners, and safety equipment to make sure your job is done right and on time for all your projects throughout the year. Experience the AFS advantage today. Advanced Fastening Supply on Doral Road in Waukesha or advancedfasteningsupply.com.
Don't miss the savings during Runnings Gift Card Bonanza. Shop in-store and online August 12th and 13th. Get a $10 gift card when you spend $100. Get a $25 gift card when you spend $200. And a $75 gift card when you spend $500. The more you spend pre-tax, the more you earn, in-store and online. Don't miss the Gift Card Bonanza at your local Runnings store. Shop any of our 90 locations or online anytime at Runnings.com. Runnings, your home, farm, and outdoor store.
The real estate industry insiders know who to call when it's time to sell their home. This is Chris Leby with Lake Country Flat Fee. We've built up a solid track record of helping out our fellow real estate colleagues over the years. Former realtors, mortgage professionals, real estate attorneys. Being in the business, they know our reputation and they're confident we'll deliver them results and savings. Our sellers save about 50% versus a traditional 6% broker. To learn more or to schedule a free market analysis, visit our website at lakecountryflatfee.com.
Real feedback from Brookfield and Mequon's Reset Restore MD patient.
My daughter's intravenous ketamine treatments made a significant difference in just 2 weeks.
R&R for relief, Reset Restore MD, rnrmd.com.
When Flawless Flooring installs luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, modern laminate, or carpeting, I personally guarantee your satisfaction with every step from shopping through installation. I'm Flawless Flooring's president, Dave Brownsdorf, and I approve this message. Sensory Underload Flawless Flooring, flawlessflooringllc.com.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellen Becker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Jay Weber here. If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Find them at orthowisconsin.com. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality of joint care and specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
Divergent Family Law offers free consultations for divorce and flat rate quotes so you can make informed decisions about your next steps. Our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. Your fair share or better, divergentfamilylaw.com.
August already? Not to worry, there's still plenty of summertime left, and the folks at the Sawmill Restaurant and Pub in Richfield are ready to serve you the very finest in home-style cooking. Take the Holy Hill exit from Highway 41, turn west, then take a right on Wolf Road. The Sawmill is just around the bend on your left.
Infinity's app shows precise costs of your new roof, providing peace of mind.
Infinity costs less, and the price we quote is surprise-free.
Because we pay less, you pay less. Warranted, guaranteed quality.
Installing peace of mind. InfinityRoofing.com.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Injured? Call Gruber Law. One call, that's all. The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like 80s Rock Ride, featuring Van Halen, Billy Idol, Aerosmith, Def Leppard, and more for your summer road trips. Crank it up all summer. 80s Rock Ride, commercial-free 24/7. I stay for a white wedding. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and find your next summer preset now.
Smart speakers get a whole lot smarter when they're playing News Talk 1130 WISN. Just ask Alexa or Siri to play WISN Radio and bask in the glow of insight and enlightenment.
President Trump pledging to use the National Guard to help restore order in Washington, D.C., something that is absolutely legally allowable under the Washington, D.C. Home Rule Act of 1973. Washington, D.C. is, no matter how you slice it, in the midst of a 6-year crime explosion that now pretty much every left-winger, including the city's mayor, Muriel Bowser, and national media types like Dana Bash are pretending just isn't happening. At his press conference this morning, though, President Trump read the cold, hard stats.
The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth. Much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it.
In fact, that is not totally accurate. Carjackings in Washington, D.C. have actually increased by 547%. They didn't just triple. There were 148 violent carjackings in 2018. In 2023, there were 957. Now, what President Trump is talking about is the last full year for which data is available, 497 carjackings in 2024. That's triple the number seen in 2018. But to pretend that somehow 2023 was just this bizarre outlier for violent crime, that ignores the available data. There were 198 murders in D.C. in 2020. The following year, 226, then 203. Then we went all the way up to 274 before dropping to 187. Just like in Milwaukee, though, you can compare what I call the before times, pre-George Floyd and post-George Floyd. In 2015, there were 162 murders. That dropped all the way to 116 in 2017, President Trump's first year in office. To suggest that somehow crime isn't up exponentially, homicides leading the way, you'd have to ignore the fact that that number jumped all the way to 187 killings last year. There were 14 murders in Washington, D.C. just in the past several days. The idea somehow that Washington, D.C. is safe is belied by the actual available evidence. Now, I want you to put your thinking caps on. When do you think the last Republican mayor of Washington, D.C. served? Home rule was established in 1973. When do you think the last Republican mayor left office? I cannot fool producer Jeff. We normally don't get him Monday through Wednesday. It's producer Eric. The two of them are splitting this shift. He's right. Washington, D.C. has never had a Republican mayor. Wouldn't you know it? Of the 10 most violent cities in America, according to violent crime rate, all 10 are governed by Democrats. None of the 10, save for Stockton, California, the 10th most violent city in America, according to per capita crime rates, violent crime rates, none have had a Republican mayor this century. And Stockton's last Republican left office in 2012. Most violent city in America, Memphis, Tennessee, with a violent crime rate of 24.37 per 1,000 residents. Last Republican mayor left office in 1991. St. Louis, Missouri, second most violent city in America. Last Republican mayor, Alois P. Kaufman, left office 1949. Detroit, Michigan, third most violent city in America. Last Republican mayor left office in 1961. Baltimore, Maryland, fourth most violent city in the country. Last Republican mayor, 1967. Birmingham, Alabama, fifth most violent city in the country. Last Republican mayor, Culpeper Exum, left office in 1910. Kansas City, Missouri, it had a Republican mayor recently. Well, 34 years ago, Emanuel Cleaver in 1991. And that's an asterisk because Cleaver later switched and became a Democrat. Cleveland is the seventh most violent city in America. Last Republican mayor, 1989. Little Rock, Arkansas is next. Eighth most violent city in the country. Last Republican mayor, 1981. And you might remember this next city. You might know it well. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a violent crime rate of 18.92 per 1,000 residents. Last had a Republican mayor way back in 1908. I'm sensing a pattern here. Are you? We'll be back after this.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
20 minutes southbound on 4145 between Good Hope and the Zoo. Delays breaking after Capitol. Southbound on 43, 15 from Brown Deer to the Marquette. Slow to Silver Spring and again from Highland down to the Marquette. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the International Hot Rod Association.
The International Hot Rod Association and Durana Hybrid, where the roar of the engine meets the torque of the race. IHRA and Durana Hybrid are bringing back the thrill of racing and the pride of skilled trades. Through mentorship and education, we're fueling the future. On the track and in the trade. Get your tickets at IHRA.com.
The only agent I trust here in Milwaukee is Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Now, thanks for joining me today. So what's the biggest challenge that sellers face when they're getting a divorce?
Well, Sean, unfortunately, divorce is tough and we deal with it a lot in our business. We have to make sure that these people feel like they're being treated fairly. They want to both feel like they're part of the deal. They don't want one side getting more insight than the other. And we have solutions for these types of issues.
How do you help them with that?
We can help them with that with a quick, clean cash instant offer. Or we make sure we set all the precedent up front so they know we're going to be dealing with them directly, equally, all the way through the transaction.
All right. Thanks for keeping us up to date. If I needed to sell a home in Milwaukee, I'd call Justin Hoffman. Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews.
Let Tri-County Contracting take care of the outside of your home so you don't have to. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows from Tri-County Contracting. Call us at 262-679-6100 or visit us online at tricountycontractingwi.com.
Panic strikes as you realize on Wednesday that Thursday is your anniversary. The reservations being secured.
We'll see you at 8.
The gift being purchased. Yeah, you've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with early pay up to 2 days early on direct deposits. So even though they call you Last Minute Lisa, we'll make your last minute scrambling a bit easier. You've got this with early pay from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Need a tree on the ground now? Cut and Go offers same day or next day half service tree removal. We do the dangerous part, putting the trees on the ground in orderly fashion. You do the cleanup. A Trees and Tons movement. cutandgotrees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com.
When it's 94 degrees inside and you've melted to the couch,
and the dog has claimed the fridge,
and the ice cubes have melted themselves out of misery,
and you've started naming your sweat beads,
then it's officially time to call Capital. We offer same-day air conditioning service 7 days a week.
And for a limited time, all our AC service calls are free when we make the repair.
Just call Capital. We'll bring back the brrr.
Old-fashioned service, you can't go wrong. Call CapitalCares.com.
Water running back to your foundation due to settling concrete can lead to extremely expensive foundation repairs, even mold and bacteria in your home. MudTech
262-337-0934.
Call MudTech for a free estimate today.
Hi, it's Jay. Let's talk about the roof on your home. A lot of you will need to replace your roof this summer, but be forewarned, there are roofing companies out there that skip over the most important part of the process, the attic ventilation. If your attic doesn't have proper air circulation, it can cause problems like mold and wood rot, leaks in the winter, not to mention higher AC bills in the summer. This is one of the reasons I recommend Semperfi Roofing to my listeners. Their process begins with a free 21-point roof inspection that includes a thorough inspection of your attic. They know that if the ventilation isn't right, the roof will be built on a shaky foundation. Every Semperfi roof comes with a well-thought-out attic ventilation plan, and that's why they can offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. Money-saving discounts and financing incentives are available. Call for your free 21-point roof inspection and estimate today, 262-600-2910, or book an appointment online at semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
Your home cleaning friend. It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Marketing a modern business means finding and serving your customers 24/7 wherever they are. WISN broadcasts are a powerful platform, but there's so much more. WISN's online digital tools are completely customizable, so you can reach your ideal customer through the iHeart app or by using software that actually finds your customers at a specific location or event. These tools are precise, efficient, measurable marketing weapons that you need to use. Combine the power and cloud of WISN's broadcast and digital platforms right now. Go to newstalk1130.com, keyword digital.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. All right, smart guy. My producer, Jeff, correctly guessed that Washington, D.C. has never once, not in its history, had a Republican mayor, as he is quite literally patting himself on the back in the producer's room. The last Republican mayor of Milwaukee served for 2 years. He left office in 1908. Can you name him? Of course you can't. No one can. The only person I think who knows this in the entire country is me, because I have been using this stat to blow people's minds for probably more than a decade. His name was Sherburne Becker. He's the last Republican, left office in 1908. We had 3 different socialist mayors in Milwaukee: Hone, Zeidler, and was Meyer considered one of the sewer socialists? We're the only city in America, Milwaukee, to elect more than one socialist mayor. Like every other city had one and said, that's enough for us. These guys are kind of nuts and they suck. New York is about to have a second. First was Bill de Blasio. Second will be Zohran Mamdani. But Milwaukee is always considered one of the most violent cities in the entire country, along with St. Louis, along with Baltimore, along with Detroit. None of them have had Republican mayors in the last 60 years. That should tell you something. Governments have been dominated in those cities by Democrats for decades. Somehow, yes, producer Jeff, it's Trump's fault. You see, it's an autocracy. This is a step towards literal fascism that he's federalizing D.C., even though it's completely allowed by both the Constitution of the United States and the law that gave D.C. a mayor and city council to begin with. How many libs do you think watching the news today even know what you folks probably just learned for the first time on the Dan O'Donnell Show today, that Washington, D.C., for almost all of its history, save for the last 50-some years, 52 years to be precise, was actually governed directly by the Congress and the federal government. If anything, what Trump is doing, using federal troops to police Washington, D.C., is sort of a return to normalcy. And yes, he is absolutely legally allowed to do it. Today's Unsung Heroes of the Day, brought to you by Blue Line Cleaning Services. Residential and commercial heating done by professionals are actually the easiest unsung heroes I have yet named. They are all the people who took the time this weekend to help out a neighbor or a friend or a loved one or a family member who had a flooded basement or who had a car that was stuck in floodwaters. There are untold thousands of people all across Southeast Wisconsin, really all across the state, who did so. And they did so expecting nothing in return. This is just what we do here in Wisconsin. Midwest nice really is a thing. So to all those of you who were good citizens and good neighbors, good brothers, good sons and daughters, good parents, I salute you. You all are our unsung heroes of the day. Coming up right after the top of the hour news, you know what it is. It's a chance to win the iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest, a trip for two to fabulous Las Vegas in September. In addition to that, a $1,000 gift card. We will also get in to Democrats absolutely embarrassing themselves on the Sunday morning shows yesterday while trying to explain why their gerrymandering is good and needed, but Republican gerrymandering is a threat to democracy. The Dan O'Donnell Show returns right after the news.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Clay and Buck weekdays 11 to 2 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Michaels. After the overwhelming amounts of rain the area has received over the last 48 hours, a river flood warning remains in effect. Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
The Menominee River at Menominee Falls, the Root River at Franklin, the Fox River at Waukesha, and the Milwaukee River at Cedarburg. And even the ones that are not included in a warning, they are still much higher than what they were previously.
After the weekend flash flooding canceled yesterday's final day of the Wisconsin State Fair, there's some wondering what to do with unused tickets.
People who held tickets for Sunday can exchange them for vouchers for the 2026 fair. That includes admission tickets and cream puff and bargain book vouchers. Full exchange details will be announced next month. Those who purchased parking passes or concert tickets through eTix will have their purchases automatically refunded over the coming days. Ted Allen, Wisconsin Radio Network.
And chipmakers NVIDIA and AMD will pay the U.S. 15% of their revenue from chip sales to China. It appears to be part of the Trump administration's willingness to relax tariffs and other trade concessions in return for investment in the U.S. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard, the Brewers go for their 10th straight win tonight. They're home to play the Pirates at American Family Field. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Scattered thunderstorms developing overnight tonight with temperatures dropping through the 70s. More scattered storms on Tuesday morning. We'll get a midday break and then more thunderstorms later in the day with a high of 82. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by Irish Fest, August 14th to 17th.
The melodies and magic of Ireland come to Milwaukee at Irish Fest, August 14th through the 17th, with over 100 entertainment acts like Scaryvore, Cherish the Ladies, Hermitage Green, and more. Get your tickets now at irishfest.com.
It's one of the hottest topics when it comes to finance and your money. The One Big Beautiful Bill. If you haven't read it, we don't blame you. It's 900 pages with 400 just for tax provisions. Not exactly light reading. You know who has read it? Annex Wealth Management. That's where Instant Insight webinars come in. They're designed to provide clarity for today's hot topics. Get up to speed fast. Check out the full Instant Insight schedule at annexwealth.com/events. Unbiased advice from a fee-only fiduciary. Find out more at annexwealth.com.
Churio with a 2-run blast. That's the sound of August Brewers baseball in Milwaukee. Make the most of every remaining summer game day and get your seats at brewers.com/tickets.
Divergent Family Law offers free consultations for divorce and flat rate quotes so you can make informed decisions about your next steps. Our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. Your fair share or better, divergentfamilylaw.com.
This is the sale everyone waits for. By the Yards Wisconsin State Fair sale is on. From July 31st through August 11th, save on premium maintenance-free outdoor furniture built to last and backed by a 35-year warranty. From Adirondacks to dining sets, every piece is made right here in the Midwest and priced direct to you. No middleman markup. Visit By the Yard at the Wisconsin State Fair or stop by their Oconomowoc showroom to explore it all in person. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
News Talk 1130 WISN. Kowal Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. For informational purposes only, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good afternoon. This is Tom Krieger with your afternoon business report. Major averages edged lower today as investors looked ahead to key inflation reports due out later this week. The Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index reports will be critical in shaping the outlook for interest rates. Elsewhere, President Trump extended the tariff deadline on China by another 90 days, a decision widely anticipated by investors accustomed to the ongoing delays. The original deadline was set to expire on Tuesday, August 12th. At the close, the Dow is down 200, S&P 500 down 16, and the NASDAQ down 64. From Creative Planning, I'm Tom Krieger.
Homes and vehicles are destroyed, and countless lives have been changed after floodwaters took over parts of our area.
It started flooding like the Titanic. There's no stopping it.
From Milwaukee to Washington County, people, they are dealing with waterlogged homes, waterlogged cars, and power outages as well.
All the neighbors have been very gracious to everyone's been talking and willing to help, and so it's good to see that part.
I am sincerely hoping that somebody wins the iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway contest from our listening area. And I sincerely hope that person is in desperate need of some good luck and something cool to happen to them after they were impacted by the flooding, impacted by the 1,000-year storm over the weekend. We are giving away a trip for 2 to Las Vegas. This includes round-trip airfare for 2 people, 2 nights stay at a fabulous hotel, ground transportation, as well as 2 tickets to both nights of our iHeartRadio Music Festival. In addition to that, a $1,000 gift card. We play each and every day, 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. We have already had a winner on this show, and I am really hoping we get another winner right now. The word is win. WIN. Text it to 200-200. You've got until 55 past the hour to text the word WIN to 200-200. If you enter the contest, you will get a confirmation text and information. Standard data and message rates do apply. The word is win. I know a lot of folks out there right now desperately need a win after a devastating weekend. 4 different areas in southeast Wisconsin, according to the National Weather Service, got more than a foot of rain. Now, there are totals that will vary pretty dramatically because if you are going by, let's say, the Fox 6 meteorologists will say, okay, well, in New Berlin, there was 11.3 inches of rain. There might only be 10.7 inches collected by the National Weather Service. They're measuring different parts. And when this much rain falls, it can be incredibly variable. I would highly suggest, if you are getting inundated with libs in your mentions or on your Facebook timeline telling you that this is global warming, that this sort of stuff is only going to get worse, you send them a video or an audio clip of my first hour where we just debunk all of that. In truth, I want you to watch on tonight's evening news. And I will admit, I have not been watching a lot of TV coverage over the past 48 hours. I was watching the initial coverage just on my phone. I was watching on the Fox 6 app to just see what was going on. And I was just kind of paying attention to the Weather Channel app. I've got an AccuWeather app. I use Apple for its radar coverage, but I find it to be by far the worst. It's remarkable. Apple does pretty much everything on mobile better than every other company except their weather app. It's awful. It's constantly late. It's inaccurate. It just is not a very good app. I use the Weather Channel one, which supposedly powers Apple's app. But I noticed just a big difference. A lot of people swear by AccuWeather. I have been into AccuWeather. I use AccuWeather on desktop when we're monitoring storms here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. But I did not watch a lot of coverage of the storms. And I want you to watch for me. And I want you to let me know if right now during the 5 o'clock news or the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news, anybody uses the phrase training to refer to what happened on Saturday night. When the storms just kind of got stuck in place, it's when a slow-moving front just gets stopped. And storms basically reform. They dump a bunch of rain, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. It's a completely natural phenomenon that happens totally independent of broader long-term changes to our climate. Anybody who doesn't tell you that this is what happens when they're trying to explain what happened on Saturday, looking at you, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, looking at you, State Senator Chris Larson, although I don't actually expect any more from Larson. In fact, I expect a lot less. My expectations for State Senator Chris Larson when it comes to posting on social media or really saying or doing anything could not possibly be any lower. They're at like the sub basement. They are like the lowest level of a flooded basement. Those are my expectations for Larson. Journal Sentinel, I expect them to be biased and to put in climate change. But at the very least, could you inform your audience about what really happened on Saturday night? That a storm system sucked up hot, moist air that was coming down from Canada. And because of the training effect, a slow-moving front just stopped. So you had a powerful storm system that was just stopped over our entire region. And southeast Wisconsin got the brunt of it. They call it a 1,000-year storm because the probability of it happening is 1 in 1,000. Does that sound like something that would happen with increasing frequency because of longer-term shifts in climate, because of global warming caused by man-made activity? It most certainly does not. You want to join the Dan O'Donnell Show? 414-799-1130 is our adventknows.com talk and text line. 1-800-838-9476. By the way, I would love to debate anybody on this. I have been reading pretty much nonsense. I think I gave myself a degree in meteorology this afternoon with how much I was reading last 2 days, really, about what causes these massive storm events. It absolutely fascinated me. Why once every 15, 17 years, something like that, you just get a storm system that dumps a foot of rain. I couldn't even fathom how much snow that would be. By the way, do you want to guess how much snow would be a foot of rain? All right. Is that your guess? It's roughly 10 inches to 1 foot for every inch of rain. Okay. You did the math for 9. If you get to a foot of rain, you are talking about 12 feet of snow. That's staggering. Wait, is my math correct on that one? I had this. I'm kind of going by the seat of my pants here because my notes on this one I accidentally left in my office. You are talking about 144 inches of snow, which, yes, would be 12 feet of snow. And I'm going by the highest totals. We had 4 different areas, according to the National Weather Service, where we had a foot or more of rain. That would be 12 feet of snow. My goodness. Yeah, if you're going by 9 inches, the good rule of thumb is for every inch of rain, it's about a foot of snow. It would have been by far the single worst blizzard in the history of Wisconsin. And hey, we've got snow and cold to look forward to in just a couple of months as we're now midway through the final month of summer. You know what? September is such a gorgeous month. October, too, here in Wisconsin. I'm not even that stressed about it. All right. Sunday morning talk shows devoted not to President Trump's government takeover of Washington, D.C., which is now the big narrative nationally. It's almost like they've totally forgotten about Donald Trump being a pedophile who's trying desperately to prevent the release of the Epstein files. Would you believe a federal judge appointed by Barack Obama prevented the unsealing of Ghislaine Maxwell's grand jury testimony? President Trump's Department of Justice wanted to release it. Federal judge didn't allow it. And in fact, anyone who's actually got even a passing familiarity with the law would tell you this is all just sort of kabuki theater. There needs to be a compelling reason to unseal any grand jury materials, and proving Trump is actually a pedophile does not count. Sorry, libs. And for the Trump administration, putting this whole controversy behind us also does not qualify as a good enough reason to unseal grand jury materials. But before Trump the dictator taking over Washington, D.C. and turning it into a demilitarized zone took hold as the national narrative today, the narrative was still that Donald Trump and his Republican allies were attempting to steal control of Congress through gerrymandering. Well, unfortunately for Democrats, the 2 Democrat governors that they put up to rebut charges that Democrats have been gerrymandering far worse than Republicans could ever dream of for decades and decades might just be the 2 dumbest governors in these United States. On Meet the Press, host Kristen Welker had Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on, and she hit him with some pretty impressive stats. That no matter how you want to define gerrymandering, Illinois is widely regarded as the worst state in the country for it.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is at stake.
You see, democracy is at stake. Kristen, we preemptively gerrymandered because we knew the Democrats in Texas, led by Donald Trump, were going to gerrymander, and we needed to preserve democracy. You see. This is, it's actually not gerrymandering when we do it. It's gerrymandering when the other guys do it. Absolutely hilarious. By the way, one of the best tweets I saw, Politico yesterday ran a story. The headline, Democrats try to separate their tactical use of redistricting from that of Republicans. Someone posted, it's only gerrymandering if it comes from the gerrymander region of France. Otherwise, it's just tactical redistricting. Now, that is a quality joke. As dumb as Pritzker sounded, he could not possibly hold a candle to the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. Hochul actually did gerrymander her state midway through the decade, something that she has been on every single cable news channel decrying when Texas is trying to do it. And the highest court in New York absolutely did call this an unconstitutional gerrymander that she was attempting. She was on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Breen.
Here's how National Review summarized it. They said it was only 3 years ago that New York's Democratic legislature drew up a map so brazenly contemptuous of basic rules that govern a district's contiguousness that the state's Democrat-dominated Court of Appeals threw it out. The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. That's their quote. So your state's highest court at the time, all the judges appointed by Democratic governors, they threw the maps out. So fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
No, we followed the rules. We do it every 10 years. We base it on census.
But the court said you didn't follow the rules.
Well, we did follow the rules.
So the court was wrong?
Well, we followed the rules.
You see, they followed the rules, except they didn't. But she's sticking with that talk about we followed the rules. They're not following the rules. Now, the rules, as you could imagine, are very different when they're interpreted by Democrats than when they're interpreted by Republicans. Who is the head of the Democratic redistricting group for the entire party nationally has been coordinating since the last census, the Democrats' redistricting efforts? Eric Holder, Barry Obama's right-hand man, the Attorney General. He actually said in the span of 45 seconds that gerrymandering is both bad and good. This might be the single best weaselly Democrat answer to a question on any show in the history of political shows. Gerrymandering is bad, but our gerrymandering is good because we're doing it to undo their gerrymandering, all in the span of 45 seconds. Listen to it.
Well, there's no question that gerrymandering is a threat to our democracy. It allows politicians to pick their voters as opposed to citizens choosing their representatives. But we are now in a situation where we find ourselves where authoritarian moves are being made by the White House through various states, Texas most prominent among them, and there has to be a response to that. What I've said is that we have to protect our democracy now if we ultimately want to be able to save it. And so taking the reasonable steps that have been proposed in California, I think it makes a great deal of sense in this moment. A temporary way in which to respond to that which is happening in Texas, with the thought that after this crisis is passed, we get back to the fight against gerrymandering by anybody.
All right. Did you follow all that? Because that was a long and winding road in just 45 seconds of word salad. Gerrymandering is an authoritarian tactic. It's a threat to democracy. But to preserve democracy and to combat authoritarianism, we must gerrymander. Once we have gerrymandered to save democracy from the evil authoritarians who want to gerrymander, then we can get back to the business of fighting against gerrymandering. It would be hilarious if it wasn't so darn sad. Do you know what the biggest problem is with this plan to fight gerrymandering by gerrymandering so they can get back to the business of fighting against gerrymandering by everybody? Democrats have nowhere else to go. They can't possibly gerrymander their states any further than they already have. I have pulled out the states where there is only one congressional representative, 2 senators, 1 House member. So it's impossible to gerrymander a state where the entire state votes for 1 House representative. And I looked at the 9 most lopsided Democrat states in the country: Massachusetts, New Mexico, Oregon, Illinois, New Hampshire, Maryland, Maine, California, and Washington. Maine, New Hampshire, and New Mexico, they all have either 2 or 3 congressional reps, but all 3 of those states are complete Democrat wipeouts. There is not a single Republican in any of those states. Same thing with Massachusetts. 9 Democrat reps, 0 Republicans. Oregon and Maryland, just 1 Republican representative apiece. Just 2 in Washington state. In those 9 states, there are 93 Democrats and just 16 Republicans. In those 9 states, 9 of the most Democrat states in America, Democrats have a 6-to-1 ratio of Dem reps to Republican reps. Now, Democrats always love to talk about how we need to get to proportional representation. Do you think Democrats outvote Republicans 6-to-1? No. It's not even 2-to-1. In fact, in all of those states, Democrats typically will get about 65% of the vote. Republicans will get between 35%, and in New Mexico and New Hampshire, they get close to 50% of the vote, but they don't have a single representation, a single representative. They have no representation in Congress whatsoever. What do you call that except gerrymandering? Well, you call it aggressive redistricting, which is needed to fight redistricting. You see, when you're fighting redistricting or when you're fighting gerrymandering, you have to gerrymander to stop gerrymandering.
Dan O'Donnell will be right back.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex.com.
Stall blocking the left lane southbound on 794 at Oklahoma. 4145 northbound just before 167. 2 right lanes are blocked with flooding on the road. Some very heavy delays as you approach. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Harwood Place, assisting
Assisted Living in Wauwatosa. Located in the heart of Wauwatosa, Harwood Place Assisted Living offers quality nursing care, chef-prepared meals, gym and fitness classes, salon, church services, and so much more. To learn more about their monthly incentives or schedule a tour, visit harwoodplace.org.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
Streaming live only on Hulu. A weekend full of superstar performances.
And keep listening for the next chance to win your way there.
Capital One is the proud presenting partner of iHeartRadio Music Festival, bringing great products, rewards, and services to its customers. What's in your wallet?
Hi, I'm Lilibeth. I'm 8 years old. Mom and Dad own Cut and Go Tree Service. Yes, they did name me after a tree. Our family loves this country and the freedom it provides. Every morning, I look forward to starting the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please say it along with me, even if you just say in your mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. American patriots will enjoy a 5% discount for flying the American flag and mentioning this commercial when the Cut and Go remote control, automobile mounted, articulated crane, grapple saw operators are putting your dead trees on the ground or removing large branches that grew over something important. An all-American Tons of Trees movement, cutandgotrees.com. That's CUTNGOTREES.com.
When selling your home, you can save the buyer money by not having a redefined realty MLS listing enhanced by easyhomebidder.com auction. But do you want to save the buyer of your home money? When buyers bid, sellers win. It's real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
WISN.
Big taxers, big spenders, political cronies, global warming alarmists, charlatans, liars, scam artists, and feeders at the public trough. The threats to your happiness are many, but that's where we can help. News Talk 1130 WISN. Our truth shall keep you free.
Incredible win for the Milwaukee Brewers, especially given the circumstances yesterday afternoon when it wasn't even clear that the game was going to go on because of flooding around American Family Field. When the game started at about 1 o'clock, there were, I believe, still cars stranded in the floodwaters just outside the stadium. Brewers are back in action this evening, having now won 9 straight games. They get a walk-off home run to win their 9th straight. Oh, well, who cares? We got to 11 straight wins, one shy of free burgers for everybody a couple of weeks ago. We fell one short. All right, well, let's just win another 9 straight games. They host the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have thrown in the towel on the season, but never underestimate a team's ability to psych itself up when it's playing a division leader. So don't be surprised if the Pirates sneak one. But if the Brewers get 3 games against Pittsburgh, it is free burger time. I think I have seen truly the most insane stat to explain how good the Brewers have been over the past 2 months. It comes from someone by the name of Tim Muma, who apparently does PR and marketing at Carroll University and is a writer for brewerfanatic.com. He posted this on X yesterday evening, and a loyal listener tipped me off to this about an hour ago. He writes, crazy stat. Since May 25th, the Cubs have the 2nd best record in the National League and 5th in Major League Baseball. They have lost 12 games in the standings to the Brewers in that time. The Brewers since May 25th have gone 50-16. If you were to extrapolate that over the course of a full season, it would equate to 122 wins. As it stands right now, the Brewers are on pace to win more than 100 games. They are the best team in baseball. They have the best record in baseball by a full 5 games, and they lead their division by 6. Do you realize that at the end of May, they trailed the Cubs by 6 games? People were openly panicking about this season being over, about them needing to just trade away all their talent, restock the farm system, which is already one of the better farm systems in baseball. I myself was going on this show and saying, look, I think the Brewers are a 500 team. I'll be pleasantly surprised if they win 85, 86 games, compete for one of the wild card spots. I'll consider the season a success. I mean, they lose Adames. Woodruff isn't coming back until midway through the season at the earliest. Who knows if he'll ever be better again? What's that? Yeah, they lost Devin Williams, their superstar closer, who has completely imploded since leaving Milwaukee. Why are you cheering for that? You don't like Devin Williams? He was something of a tough guy to like. Producer Jeff actually does our Brewers post-game show over on our sister station, 97.3 The Game, and he has specific thoughts about Devin Williams and his mental state. It's remarkable the turnaround this team had. It coincided with Mizorowski coming on and Quinn Priester. Andrew Vaughn, of course, everybody is saying that the Brewers basically, I think they've lost maybe 7 games since the Andrew Vaughn trade. He's a mediocre player at best with the White Sox. He comes over here and he turns into Hank Aaron. Who would have guessed? But that is just absolutely mind-blowing that the second best team in Major League, in the National League, 5th best team in Major League Baseball since May 25th has lost 12 games in the standings to the Brewers. Brewers were 6 games behind Chicago on May 25th. That is unreal to me. Now, there are people, Chicken Littles mostly, who believe that the sky is going to fall come October. And frankly, folks, until you get past the Los Angeles Dodgers, I'm not going to start printing any World Series tickets. I'm just not. What I can say, however, is stop thinking about the future. Right now is a gift. What's the old cliche? That's why we call it the present. It is one of the most fun Brewers seasons I can remember having. Walk-off home runs, The Miz, just incredible excitement. The Friday night, the throw coming from center field. Do you realize Blake Perkins is the only player in Major League Baseball in 40 years to have 2 unassisted outfield assists, meaning he makes the throw without hitting the cutoff man to gun down the tying run to end the game, to have a walk-off outfield assist. He is the only Major League player. He's done it in back-to-back seasons. He did it before in 2024. I mean, stuff like that. The team just has sort of a team of destiny feel to it, doesn't it? And they've just decided that they're apparently not going to lose again. I'm in such a good mood. How about we make fun of the Boomer Libs? Should we make fun of the Boomer Libs? They had a heck of a weekend from Ohio to Florida, embarrassing themselves very publicly. We'll get to that next.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Eastbound 94, heavy from the Zoo to Mitchell Boulevard, westbound from the Marquette to the stadium. 4145 northbound, 2 right lanes blocked with flooding just past the Washington County line. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling.
This heat is unbearable.
Keep your family comfortable with First Choice Heating. For a limited time, get $89 off your AC and heating tune-up. Milwaukee's trusted HVAC company, firstchoiceheating.com.
I'm Total Health's Jay Johnson. The Falls and New Berlin. Additives, chemicals, and toxins in your diet can miswire the way your genes express themselves. Food is critical for health. Increased energy, better sleep, reversing chronic disease. A healthier, happier, pain-free you is simple. Schedule your free Total Health consult. Holistic health coaches will guide you to a healthier, happier, truly you. Seed oils, the #1 source of calories in American diets, were developed as fuel in industrial lubricants. Seed oils cause dozens of chronic illnesses. Big Healthcare solution to nutritional-related illness is their same solution to all health-related problems. Drugs that also alter the way your genes express themselves, leaving root causes, making you increasingly sick over time. What they never tell is eliminate seed oils from your diet, and cutting back on sugar will immediately improve your health. It's true. Total Health finds root causes of sickness, including nutritional deficiencies, then helps you, the whole complete you, achieve wellness. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com. That's TotalHealthInc.com.
Let Tri-County Contracting take care of the outside of your home so you don't have to. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows from Tri-County Contracting. Call us at 262-679-6100 or visit us online at TriCountyContractingWI.com.
I'm Kelly Lammert at Clean Living Environments. Exhausted today because last night was sweaty and sleepless? Kids upstairs can't sleep unless your bedroom is freezing and you're overwhelmed by stifling humid heat just a few steps up the stairs? Clean Living Environment Clean ducts allow more cool air to make it through your vents to the farthest room from the furnace and every room in between. Clean Living Environment's AeroSeal duct sealing allows your furnace and ducts to deliver cool, refreshing air as your HVAC system was designed. The engineer didn't account for loosely fitted pipes snaking from the furnace through walls to vents or loosely boxed off stud spaces and right angle returns forcing air out of ducts. Literally tonnage of cool air escaping into the basement, walls, and attic before reaching intended rooms. Dank basement air sucked into gaps and distributed throughout the house results in dust, musty smells, less cooled air to parts of the house, and larger energy bills. Upgrading summer is cool. Get more out of your ducts. CleanLivingEnvironments.com. That's cleanlivingenvironments.com.
Warshawski trial attorney Frank Crivello here. Folks, I'm Victor Harding. Frank is selected Best Lawyers 2024 Complex Litigation Lawyer of the Year. More impressive is Victor Harding named Product Liability Attorney of the Year again for 2024. It may sound boastful to mention these prestigious awards. It's not boastful considering if you or someone you love is injured, you need to know 2 attorneys from the same personal injury firm being chosen by other lawyers and judges for these caliber of awards is very rare. Heaven forbid you ever need an injury claim made on your behalf. If you do, the quality of your attorney and law firm will have a greater impact on the outcome than even the facts of your case. Former clients, other lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers, and even insurance adjusters, often our adversaries, refer their family and friends to Warshawski because they know Warshawski will achieve maximum compensation. Injured? It is about the money. Warshawski.com. That's Warshawski.com.
Infinity's app shows precise costs of your new roof, providing peace of mind.
Infinity costs less, and the price we quote is surprise-free.
Because we pay less, you pay less. Warranted, guaranteed quality.
Installing peace of mind. InfinityRoofing.com.
Imagine your home totally organized. At Closets by Design, we specialize in providing affordable, custom-built storage solutions with built-ins and beyond. From walk-in closets to entertainment centers, our experienced designers work within your budget to design a solution fit perfectly to your needs. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% with 18-month financing. Visit closetsbydesign.com or call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to get started. Let's get organized together.
Injured? Call Gruber Law. One call, that's all.
In 1920, a magazine article announced something incredible. 2 young girls had photographed real fairies. That article was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the man who invented Sherlock Holmes. How did he fall for that? Hoax is a new podcast from me, Dana Schwartz, the host of Noble Blood.
And me, Lizzie Logan. Every episode will explore one of the most audacious and ambitious tricks in history.
Open your free iHeartRadio app, search Hoax, and listen now.
The talk shows on WISN Radio. Not for the faint of heart and not for the feeble of mind. News Talk 1130 WISN. Fact is, until you've heard us, you haven't heard the whole story. This is where sycophants and chills are shunned, and commitment to the unvarnished truth is sustained. Just one reason that this is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Welcome back, Dan O'Donnell Show. What do I always say, ladies and gentlemen? You can be a boomer. You can even be a lib. But do not, under any circumstances, be a boomer lib. There is nothing in the known universe more cringe than a boomer lib. To wit, this weekend, hundreds, and I mean hundreds, if not thousands of boomer libs did their own Hands Across America, forming a human chain that the local media said was 9 miles long to protest what? Nothing in particular, just kind of, Trump.
An 8-mile human chain stretched down High Street from Worthington to downtown Columbus today, a show of solidarity and peace connecting people of all ages and all backgrounds. Thanks for being with us this evening for NBC4 at 6. I'm Kyle Beachy. Organizers say this demonstration today, not a stand against any one issue, but welcomed anyone who feels isolated by our government's actions.
Okay. Surprisingly, the Hands Across Ohio boomer libs weren't even the most embarrassing cringe group of boomer libs to protest this week. And no. Those were the boomer libs who locked themselves in a cage down in Florida to protest the construction of Alligator Alcatraz, the nickname for the new ICE detention facility down in the Sunshine State.
A dozen people representing imprisoned immigrants were caged inside what event organizers say is the, quote, cage of shame. The project manager says this is a testimony to the harshness the country is inflicting on the immigrant population. One man says he used to be an officer for immigration in Miami and interviewed people who escaped from their countries, and says he sees these people being abused by the United States government.
I'd like to see the abolition of ICE. They are a threat to human rights and civil liberties. It's just a terrible situation.
People who attended say they disagree with Governor Ron DeSantis' plan to build an immigration detention center at Camp Blanding. Every 10 minutes, everyone was asked to be silent to reflect on what the thousands of people who are locked up are going through.
Folks, I wish I could share the video with you. Just search for Alligator Alcatraz prison. There's 12 boomer libs locked in a little chain link fence cage. And there are a couple of boomer libs who pretend to be ICE agents. And periodically they would kind of march them around, and the other boomer libs, wearing masks, of course, had their hands behind their backs as though they were illegal immigrant detainees. And every 10 minutes they would just stop their shouting and stop their chanting and hold a moment of silence for all of the illegal immigrant criminals and gangbangers who are having their rights violated by ICE, which that one boomer lib said he wanted to abolish. This leads me to a very serious question, though. How is it that the Democrat Party became the party of old people? Is it specifically the baby boomer generation, which was far more left-wing than any previous generation and was, in fact, the generation that first mainstreamed the Marxist socialist ideas that up until the late 1960s, early 1970s were only at the fringes of society? I have no idea. But it is boggling my mind that in both the leadership of the Democrat Party, remember, these are the same people who used to say, never trust anyone over 30. Now it's never trust anyone under 70. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders. Yes, I know we conservatives have our own boomer leader in Donald Trump. But beyond that, J.D. Vance, I don't believe, is yet 40 years old. Marco Rubio is in his early 50s. Pete Hegseth, mid-40s. The leaders of the Republican Party, yeah, Mitch McConnell, but he's on his way out. I get that when people get power, they don't give it up. And the Democrat Party, while they say they are the party that loves democracy, is run in a far more authoritarian, heavy-handed, top-down structure than the Republicans. Just look at the last three presidential primaries that they pretty blatantly and reasonably openly rigged for proof of that. But the fact that the Democrats are now the party of the elderly is just a fascinating cultural shift. In fact, outside of millennial women, I believe it was women aged 30 to 44, the only age groups that shifted to the left in the 2024 election, the only two were women and men over the age of 65. In that they voted more Democrat than Republican. They increased the number of Democrat votes. That said, older people are still overwhelmingly more likely to vote Republican. But the fact that so many are getting more liberal with old age, or in the alternative, is it just that they're finally discovering social media? So now we're seeing all these cringe boomer lib stunts that we might not otherwise have seen. Is it possible that decades worth of scaring people about the Republicans taking away their Social Security and Medicare finally caught up and finally took hold? And it was for years and years and years. Remember, the throwing granny off the cliff, that started when the boomers first seized power in this country in the 1990s, when they were in their 40s. Well, maybe 50s. But when they first became a political force, that was when the narrative that Republicans are going to take away your Social Security, they're going to take away your Medicare. I think decades of that finally convinced them that, holy cow, now that I actually need Social Security and Medicare, I better vote for the Democrats who are going to protect it. Never mind the fact, do you know how much your retirement accounts would be worth right now if George W. Bush's plan to privatize Social Security, even a portion of it, would be worth? I almost don't want to even tell you. Should we save that for a teaser? Yeah, let's save that for a tease for the end of the show coming up next. It's going to blow your mind. If we were to have privatized Social Security 20 years ago, how much money people would have made.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington, Total Traffic Center.
Eastbound 94, heavy from the Zoo to Mitchell Boulevard, westbound from the Marquette to the Stadium. 4145 northbound, 2 right lanes blocked with flooding just past the Washington County line. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. DQ presents the DQ Chicken Strip Basket. Just $7.49 for a limited time. 4 white meat seasoned chicken strips served with fries, Texas toast, and DQ signature country gravy. For crunch lunchtime? Get the DQ chicken strip basket delivered in the DQ app. Happy tastes good at participating locations.
I'm Dr. Jennifer Grieve at Reset Restore MD IV Ketamine Therapy Centers. IV ketamine is superior to ketamine lozenges. If you suffer with depression, anxiety, or PTSD, listen to real R&R MD patient feedback.
My treatments helped greatly reduce and eliminate my chronic back pain.
I've tried many therapies for depression, and this has been the most impactful. The environment is relaxing, and the staff are incredibly kind.
Amazing, life-changing, wonderful. Dr. Jennifer changed my life for the better with ketamine infusions.
R&R MD helped me deal with anxiety and be more calm with hectic things going on. Years of talk therapy can't do what this did in a few sessions.
Intravenous ketamine infusions take about an hour at our Brookfield or Mequon R&R MD locations. Relief can continue for weeks, months, even a lifetime. R&R for Relief, Reset Restore MD, rnrmd.com. That's rnrmd.com.
An app for pics, an app for playlists, even the app for scrolling endlessly at 2 a.m. But only one app puts the live radio dial in your pocket. The free iHeartRadio app. Get what millions already have. iHeartRadio, the #1 app for radio.
Dan O'Donnell here for my good friends at Mander Collision and Glass, the only place I've trusted my vehicles with for years now. Their customer service is impeccable and their workmanship is so good, they guarantee it for life. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a 5-star review from Alana. Mander was amazing. From Noel at the front desk to Nikki, who helped coordinate my insurance and repairs, I could not have had a better experience. My 2021 Subaru Forester looks brand new. I honestly don't think I've had this great of a customer service experience in my life. I'll refer anyone and everyone to Mander if they ever find themselves in a bind. Thank you so much. No, thank you, Alana, for helping me spread the word about just how great Mander is. Wherever you are in the greater Milwaukee and Waukesha area, there's a service center near you. So start your repair now at mandercollision.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
At Wisconsin's own Accunet Mortgage, our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 less than the banks or the mortgage guys with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Find out how much you can save at accunet.com.
Whether you're on a commercial job site or tackling residential projects, support yourself and your crew with the AFS Advantage. AFS Advanced Fastening Supply is locally owned with a complete inventory of all the major brands of tools, fasteners, and safety equipment to make sure your job is done right and on time for all your projects throughout the year. Experience the AFS Advantage today. Advanced Fastening Supply on Doral Road in Waukesha or advancedfasteningsupply.com.
Water running back to your foundation due to settling concrete can lead to extremely expensive foundation repairs, even mold and bacteria in your home. MudTech 262-337-0934. Call MudTech for a free estimate today.
Monsters hairball, googly eyes, looks like Clogzilla is back in your sink.
Not again. This always happens when I shave my back hair. Hello, Clogzilla.
Have no fear. There's a drain hero here. Just call the pros at Capital when things get hairy.
Need help defeating the beast beneath your sink? Call Capital for our best drain clearing offer ever. For only $49, we'll unclog your drain.
Old-fashioned service you can't go wrong. Call CapitalCares.com.
Thank you, WISN listeners, for trusting your car repairs to Engine and Transmission Exchange. ETE has 2 locations with A-plus ratings from the Better Business Bureau. One is on South 27th Street in Milwaukee, the other on West Avenue in Waukesha, and they work on any make or any model. See EngineTrans.com for details. Engine and Transmission Exchange.
Simplify keeps you safe, warm, and dry. For a free estimate, go to SimplifyRoofing.com.
How do you define strength? Is it physical? Or is it mental? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's whatever empowers a person to dig deeper, fight harder, and overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Discover how much stronger and more confident your children can be. Encourage them to participate in a sport when they go to high school.
This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
In 2005, George W. Bush wanted to not totally privatize Social Security. That was sort of an oversimplistic way of describing it. He wanted to peg a percentage of Social Security taxes that one would pay to the market, to the S&P 500. Specifically. And you could take those funds that you were paying, that were being paid into Social Security on your behalf, and peg them to stocks, to indexes, that sort of thing. If we would have, let's say, pegged it to the S&P 500, 2005, 20 years ago, to now, 2025, you would have seen a 337% rate of return. Let's say your average boomer had, $500,000 total Social Security, just nest egg, waiting for them, promised to them. I'm being generous here, but $500,000. I just picked a nice round number. Do you know what that would be worth today? If you don't adjust for inflation, $2.1 million. If you do adjust for inflation, a little over $3 million. Had Bush's plan passed. Just so we're all clear. Remember, it was Democrats, many of whom are still in office. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders. These are the leaders of the Democrat Party, the geriatric superstars of the liberal movement. They're still in office today. They cost you millions of dollars. If you are a baby boomer now, if you're a boomer lib and you didn't invest, I know most conservative boomers are insanely well invested. This has actually led rather directly to a big political problem that we have in Wisconsin. The fact that conservative boomers have done so well. Most of you are now listening to me in Florida, which is your primary residence, or at least you'll be going back there when the weather starts getting colder and you vote there. Democrats typically are not nearly as good with money, so they're more dependent on Social Security. If you are cursing the fact that Social Security, now that you're retired and have to rely on it, has led to a significant decline in quality of life, maybe you should rethink what exactly you were doing 20 years ago. But this is a serious, interesting philosophical question. For pretty much my entire adult life, Republicans have been the party of the old fuddy-duddies, the stereotype of the snooty country club 1%er, right? Mitt Romney sort of was the embodiment of that stereotype. Just a waspy, genteel Republican. Did Trump change all that? That Trump made conservatism punk rock, the rebellious political philosophy that naturally appeals more to younger people, and the comfortable old world order was dogmatic liberalism, this sort of neo-Marxism that boomer libs grew up with, protesting the Vietnam War and like a security blanket are going back to it in old age? I don't know. But it's certainly something worth looking into further. That, however, will have to wait for another day because we are out of time. Talk to you tomorrow afternoon, and please stay safe and dry. You've been listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.